It's good to have you with us. If you're just joining, we start here. Police Minister on special leave, Senzo Mchunu, contends that the disbandment of the political killings task team in KwaZulu-Natal was anticipated. He told the Madlanga Commission that discussions took place prior to the directive to disband the team. Mchunu has returned to the commission investigating claims of criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system. For the latest now, let's cross to our reporter, Veronica Makhoali, who is watching the space for us. Veronica, good evening to you. So the commission has already adjourned for the day. They're coming back tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. But Minister Mchunu, the person you saw on the stand on Tuesday versus what you saw today, you probably, as a viewer, would have been deluded to think that he is going to be treated slightly differently to the likes of Brown Mokhotsi or Julius Mkhwanazi. But it appears the commissioners are just as tough. How is he holding up?
Certainly, Xoli, and I would have to agree with you because it was just towards the tail end where we heard, of course, the chair of the commission pressing the Minister on Special Leave, Senzo Mchunu, about some of the decisions that he made in regards to the disbandment of the PKTT. This would be the Political Killings Task Team. And you're very right to make that description in terms of the contrast between the minister that we saw here on Tuesday and what really was transpiring today. There was a point, Xoli, in particular, where he couldn't answer a question 3 times that it was posed to him. And this was a simple question to say, what was the rush in the disestablishment of the Political Killings Task Team, specifically on the day of the 31st of December, despite the fact that he said that this was something, a process essentially that he was putting on review? They pressed him, Madlanga pressed him truly to say what was the rush, something he had to answer to 3 times as he tried to duck and dive, but ultimately saying that, look, this was a process to start with. And I want to touch on that a little bit because earlier he spoke about the issue of this terminology of immediately. You'd remember in the letter that he sent on the 31st of December, he said that the PKTT would be disbanded immediately. Well, he put it to the commission that his version of immediately means it's disbanded now, but a process would begin much later. Have a listen.
When I indicated with reference to the PKTT, I attached the word immediately. Just to clarify what, in my understanding, as I was sitting on the desk writing, and I would want to indicate to commissioners that I wrote this, although it's not the subject for today, but I wrote the directives and I take full responsibility for them, all 3 of them. I was not influenced by anyone, anywhere, not by phone, not by anything. I just had said for 3 days, 29, 30, 31, and asked myself, what changes, what impact have I made on SAPS? This is my 5th month in the department. I'm heading for the 6th month. And I need to see qualitatively the difference that I've made. And then I wrote these directives wanting to select just 3 issues that would make further impact on the work that we had done and not come to the department and just stay and not make any difference.
And so you hear Mchunu there speaking about the fact that he took this decision because he wanted to reflect essentially on his few months as the police minister and wanted to make sure that he was making a lasting impact within the SAPS ministry. But of course, this thought process and reflection would take 3 days. And he said he started from the 29th, but it was pointed out by the commissioners that on the 28th of December, he then attended a funeral where he was side by side with National National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, where he forgot essentially to bring up the issue that he was thinking about this process of disbanding the PKTT. Now, we know that the minister has for some time, if you will, drilled in the fact that as a minister, he believed and continues to say that he had the authority and the powers to issue out this directive, but it was pointed to him again as to why he simply did not put the National Commissioner into his confidence, perhaps maybe to consult with him or brief him in regards to whether or not this would be a good idea, the implications of disbanding this team, and whether or not they would have something to say about it. Have a listen to essentially this engagement when it came to the issue of what the Commission has described as a bombshell on the SAPS structures.
On the 31st of December 2024, you surprise everybody within SAPS, in particular the top management, with your decision of that day. And you do this having a very good working relationship with the National Commissioner of Police. You accept that that is effectively what you did. You as it were, if I were to be metaphorical, you drop a bomb like that.
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
Why not?
The reason is in the narrative that starts from 2019 with anticipated reintegration of the team that had been established, then extending. The narrative was always that the NPKTT, right from the beginning, is for 6 months. And then it gets extended another 6 months. Then a year, then another year. But in the minds of management, in the minds of SAPS management combined, both from the ministry and from management, it is anticipated, it is expected, it is something that we should be doing, even when you now had teams functional, murder and robbery. But so, yes, maybe an element of surprise, but not exactly, because it's something that has been in the mind, has been spoken about, and it has always been something that we could do anytime, just required somebody to come forward and say, the time is this one.
Well, another moment that stood out from today would, of course, have been when the commissioners then asked the minister as to the decision to disband immediately, which would then be followed by discussions, and saying, again, as I pointed out, this question regarding why was it so rushed? Well, the minister responded simply to say that, well, he was told by the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, that, in fact, the PKTT had indeed achieved its objective. The amount, or the rate rather, of political killings, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, had lowered significantly, and that there were cases, of course, that were in fact already in the courts. And he says, based on this report that was given by Masemola, he believed that the decision was justified. But this was questioned by the commissioners, who said, you only received this report once the PKTT was disestablished, once you had already sent out that letter with immediate effect. And so the commissioner really just coming back to him to say that question does not make sense. And another question that was put forward to say, why particularly the PKTT, out of all the task teams, specifically when you speak about its wasteful expenditure, was it targeted? Have a listen.
Why did you pick on the PKTT to be the first and only thus far, actually, victim of disbandment?
Now, we have stated the reasons that in our discussion, our assessment, our attention got caught by PKTT, and in view of us discussing the structure in relation to murder and robbery and all of the history that we have been indicating, and there is no other task team that fell in that particular category as we were discussing. PKTT had been almost 7 years and there was impact on the budget and other related matters. So it came. If there was any other task team that came, and I'm sure there would have been another that would have come later on, but it was this one that caught our attention.
All right, Veronica, so that's the Minister of Police on special leave, Senzo Mchunu. He returns to the stand tomorrow because I think this is what is going to fascinate the whole of South Africa, because it's now the Q&A session with him. It's no longer the statement, his own statement that he is reading out to the commission. But before him, Julius Mkhwanazi, this is the suspended Deputy Police Chief of Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. He continued from where he left off overnight, and needless to say that it had been a sweaty few days for him. Once again, the commission picking up from where they left off, and that's the relationship between himself and Vusumuzi Cat Matlala. Tell us where things ended with him.
Yeah, that's right, Xoli, and this was, of course, an anticipated end to Julius Mkhwanazi's, Q&A, specifically because of the way it ended last night, where we heard evidence leader Advocate Silo saying that there was more that they needed to touch on. In fact, and this is what we saw this morning, you would have heard yesterday, he spoke about this close working relationship that he had with the crime boss, Vusumuzi Cat Matlala, talking about, of course, the introduction that he had to him and how he's private security company, CAT VIP Protection and Medicare 24, would have aided and assisted EMPD through various things, including protection at the state of the city address, as well as, of course, the issue, the scandal of fitting these private vehicles belonging to Matlala with blue lights. But it was revealed this morning that not only did they enjoy a close working relationship, but in fact they had quite a personal relationship, where it was told to the commission that in fact Mkhwanazi was receiving money from Matlala, various amounts of money from food, petrol, and even at some point Matlala paid for Mkhwanazi's siblings' funeral. Now, the evidence leader, Advocate Silo, put it forward to the commission and to Mkhwanazi that he was in fact receiving this money as gratification for the efforts that he went to in fitting his vehicles with blue lights that ultimately made him untouchable in regards to the roads in EMPD. Have a listen.
Have you ever received any money from Mr. Vusumuzi Matlala, or him personally, directly, or any of his companies?
No, but
It's a yes or no?
The part just might be interesting. No, let me say.
Okay, I'll allow you the but.
Let me relate the relations. Yes, we had dinner, we had lunch, suppers. In fact, we're talking now. You see, sometimes he'll give me money for petrol, or sometimes he'll borrow money from me. Saying I'm lang mali petrol, can give me 500 rand, 300 rand. It's those monies. But we use, as I've said to you, we're beginning to be that close now, talking every day and meeting and discussing. Even after these failed things, he was never negative to me. You see, he was very positive, and you see, the only thing that stopped the communications, this news that, hey, now there was this shock and fear. You see, but we, Madlanga commissioners, were very, very close.
And that essentially was the response that Mkhwanazi gave, saying that he would receive money from who he continuously kept telling the commission he knows Vusimusi Matlala as Mgamla. This was an affectionate name that he had for him. And so it really raises questions as to how deep this relationship in fact went. But we will know more about this, of course, when Mkhwanazi returns to the commission next year. The date hasn't been specified, but also with noting, Xoli, was that his ultimate testimony ended during that incident in Brakpan, where he is alleged to have helped and assisted in the cover-up of a murder. And so that is where we wrap it up in regards to what is really the second last day of the commission. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu expected back tomorrow, and that, of course, will be the end of the commission's running in terms of phase 2, as they now need to prepare for that interim report expected to be on the President's desk by the 17th of December.
Veronica Makhoali, thank you very much indeed.